Roya. Thank you.
Okay, part 2. Let's dive deeper into the Gemini, which is Google multimodality generative AI model. Um, I wanted to focus on large language models here, which is I think the short version is LLM. The way they work is the same as if you have a autocomplete system. With an autocomplete, every time you are making a decision about the next value, exactly the next value. So now, if you have a very, very, very accurate system, you can feed that next value to the input. And now, instead of, for example, having a four, mm, um, four-word sentence as an input, you added that output for the 4 word, and now you have 5 words, and you are deciding what is the 6th word. So what you see on the slide here, it says it's raining cats and. So what is the most probable word that would come after and in here? So obviously, there are a few options. We have the word dog with 0.9%, and there could be rain with 0.03. Actually, I think that we have the word dog with 90%, and then we have rain with 3%, we have drops with 2%, fish with 1%, and wind with less than 1%, right? And this really is not a smart, but this really highly trained model knows to pick the highest probability. So it chooses dog, which is 90% accurate. So now we can go back and say, if I had it's raining cats and dogs, what would be the next word? And if the probability of that next word, the confidence of that next word is not high enough, then we are like, we stop the production and we call it a day and we say, okay, this is my sentence. If not, we can continue it. So for example, here, first, these 3 different words with a comma were fed to the model. Roses are red. As people, what is the next word to you? I would kindly request you to put it in the chat for me, please. Nobody want to put anything in the chat? Okay, I continue. Okay, thank you, Marshall. I appreciate it. The next immediate word would have been violets. And then if I would input roses are red, violets, the next word would have been R, and obviously the whole thing would be generated that roses are red, violets are blue, sugar is sweet. I didn't know sugar is sweet as a part of it, and in one of my talks, somebody actually showed me this is coming from a lyrics of a really, I think, popular music, but it was it is obviously an English music, so I didn't know about it. The same practice can go for a code. So if I put for variable of I equal 0 and basically that comma dot, the rest would be obviously when you are writing Java code, it's a given that you want to have a basically a stopping point and a way to increase the value of I. So what makes this model work is they are significantly large. They are impressively large. And the reason that we can go this large is because of all of the compute that is accessible to us. We went from couple of hundreds of GPU, couple of hundred bytes of GPU to GPUs that can handle gigabytes and terabytes of computation. And you always need to think about all of these models being matrices. And matrix is a fancy way of saying a grid of numbers. So there are basically a bunch of numbers that their location has a meaning, and we can multiply them to each other. And to multiply them with each other, we need CPUs or GPUs, and GPUs allowed us to do it in parallel. So because we have this compute in the form of GPUs and now TPU, which is tensor processing units, we can have this immensely large language model. And the second thing that makes this model large is the amount of data that they have been trained with. When I was a student and I was working on this type of project, um, the number of samples to work with were less than 1,000. And when the ImageNet by Dr. Fei-Fei Li from Stanford came to picture, they were talking about 1.5 million images, and that was immense. That was like so big. But these models right now, they have access to all of the content of internet. Now think about how much that can be and how much information there are actually grasping. Classical natural language processing was able to still do some progress. So even before Transformer, even before Palm, before 2017, we had Twitter blocking certain type of tweets, and I refuse to call it X. We call it Twitter. We still had Google Translate, we had entity extraction, we had summarization, but they were really limited and they were hardly, they required so much practice to actually code them. If you were at the beginning of my talk, I talked about how we went from deciding the features of what defines a cat and what defines a dog to using convolutional neural network to identify these feature maps, this series of basically attributes that makes an animal a certain animal. That was the same practice for this type of problem. So for example, for sentiment analysis, we would calculate the probability of a text being positive or negative based on the correlation, the chance of certain word being in that sentence that would add a positive or negative impact. So if I would say, I don't know, this restaurant is really good, that would increase the chance of it being really a really good restaurant or a good sentence, a positive sentence. But then I could trick the system by saying this restaurant was really good, but be sarcastic and then add explanation mark and question mark, but so it threw off the model. But now large language model can do all of that, but they can do all of that really fast because through learning all of these autocomplete, they found the relationship between different values and each word has certain impact on other words. So we can make a better sense of what is the sentiment of a sentence, what is how to summarize it, what some values are, whether some words are more important or not, and so on and so forth. But at the same time, they make this prototyping really, really fast because you do not require to have sophisticated background in knowing exactly how to do, for example, natural language processing task. You can ask it anything. You can ask it to explain you a joke, and it does a very good job. And one of the applications in my mind is to have something, a large language model, to explain slangs and jokes for non-English speaker. Because I personally, I don't know the slang, I don't know the jokes. I'm always a dumb person who doesn't understand things. And that application, which takes a large language model and trains it to understand jokes and slang, would be absolutely phenomenal. The other is to ask it to give you new ideas. It's able to generate new content. I want you to pay attention that we are talking about two really new applications. We are talking about sentiment analysis in the form of having a tiny bit of prompt and realizing what it is about, and also to having a tiny bit of a prompt and coming up with new ideas that is not fully provided in the context of that prompt. So for example, if you have a child and you're required to have idea for their uh, science fair project, you can ask the model, and given that this model has seen all of the internet, it can go back and figure out what is a few good ideas. So to summarize, these large language model are able to do search, are able to do conversation, and are able to do content generation. I want to pay attention that they are doing a way better search than the search that we had before. When we were doing the search before, we were limited to the keyword search. So if I would ask any of the search engines sooner, before this time, before this era, to provide me some information, the information was based on matching the values in the search basically box and matching it against what was common in an article. So again, being somebody with, I think, limited English proficiency, uh, it wasn't a struggle for me to figure out what is the good keyword to ask. I always would ask my fellows to figure out what are the keywords that they are using to actually look out for example, for articles. But now we passed that era because now we can have it to do sentient analysis and then match between the meaning of what I'm asking, whereas against what is available on the internet. We can have conversation, so we can have it understand what we want and have a memory of what we've been talking about. It's not a really large memory, but it depends on the number of token that you have, which I will get back to. And we can also have content generation the same way that we had it for previous models, so anything like Palm or Imagine or anything. The progress of large language model is deep, I think, correlated with what Google did. In 2015, for example, Google DeepMind started basically they introduced AlphaGo. In 2017, they introduced this very amazing paper called Attention is All You Need. And that was the kickstart of LLM because it introduced the idea of transformer. And the idea was to the same way that as human we pay attention to certain words, and when they come together they changed that they provide us with a context. We are we are basically providing a mathematical algorithm to do the same thing. So just as an example, if I ask you to go and buy an apple, although I think everybody would buy fruits, but there is an ambiguity to it that maybe I'm asking for an iPhone. But if I say go and buy an like Apple phone, you know immediately that I'm asking for an iPhone. And if I ask go and buy apples and oranges, you know immediately that I'm talking about fruits. What gives away my intention is the two words coming together. So apple and phone makes you to exactly know what I'm talking about, and apples and oranges makes you exactly know what I'm talking about. This correlation that you have in your mind using transformer is translated to some mathematical formula, some numbers that is understandable for the models. And from 2017 and afterwards, it was just Google making this technology better and better. And I want to also um, emphasize that I don't think being the first to the market matters as much if you are making sure that your product is responsible and ethical. Um, when this talk has started, I believe somebody asked about multimodality. And what multimodality is exactly how we think about different entities in our mind. So if I ask, when I was talking about a cat, in your brain, um, the shape of multiple cats, the written way of a cat, the sound of a cat, all of them would would come together. You are not, they are not really far, staying apart from each other. Multimodality is to make sure that we are coding all of these different modalities, voice, video, images, and sound, to locate in the same location in a space called latent space. So we want everything to be one, numbers, and two, we want these numbers to stay close to each other. And then it enables us to go from one modality to the other one because these vectors of number actually are staying close to each other. So the same way that we could go from a word to a different word, and we could basically translate and map this wording together, now we can map from a word to an image, or an image to a word, and so on and so forth. So this is the Gemini era, and we exactly can do that. So we can go between different modalities. So do you see my cursor by any chance? Can somebody say yes or no in the mm.
No, I don't see your cursor.
Oh,
Yes,
thank
I
you.
do. I do see your cursor. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So this space, this is a resemblance of what I'm talking about, a latent space. And each of these 3 by 3 matrices is a way of translating a word or a sentence or a picture to a bunch of numbers, and then we try to put all of them that belong to the same entity close to each other, and then we borrow from that to generate the output. Gemini has Ultra, Gemini has Pro, and Gemini has Nano, and this is just the size of the model. I think Ultra is accessible to some, Pro is accessible to all, and Nano is accessible on the edge devices. So if you want to have a model that is accessible on an Android and you don't want to like constantly contact the server, that's what you would use. There is also Gemma, which is an open source model provided by Google. If you are interested, definitely check it out. An open source model enables you to basically keep your data to yourself and have a full control over your system. Gemini, as we saw in the I/O recap at the beginning, is provided mm, ease of use for a variety of different users. It's useful for the customer when they are incorporating it into app, into Google, into Workspace, all of those cool things, to basically go to the email and figure out what it wants, or go to the doc and say, hey, I'm thinking about this, please do this job. It's also available to the developers. So there is an API that we can use in Google AI Studio, and that's what we will be doing today. And it's also available for businesses for certain practices in Vertex AI and as such. So if you feel comfortable, I recommend looking up this webpage. It's aistudio.google.com. So I put it here too, aistudio.google.com. If you open that link, you should see a web page that looks like what I show you on the picture. Would you show a thumbs up or thumbs down so I know if I should follow or continue, or if you want me to wait and you are not there yet?
I see it. I'm good to go.
Okay. I give 1 more minute for people who want to log in. Thank you. Thank you. I see all of the thumbs up. I appreciate it. I see the +1. Thank you. So on the side, you should see a model, and that's the type of model that you can use. And then in the middle, that's the same, almost the same as if you were accessing Gemini through a web page. So if you are like opening a Chat GPT, or you are opening Chat Gemini, and you are asking for, hey, anything, that's the same type of access with a little bit of more freedom for you and less heuristic on top of it. So when you are using it, for example, in Gemini web page, there are multiple heuristic to make sure that the content that is provided to user is up to some certain standard, but here you are seeing a more raw version of it. On the top right corner, there is a snippet, there is this button that gives you the snippet of code that you could use to generate the same content as if you were using this web page. So if you click on that, you will see a pop-up of a get code, and then it gives you the code in multiple languages. Python is my favorite, so here is the Python version. And then to actually start, you need to have a get API key, and you need to produce your own API key. There will be another session on June 22nd, and we will be providing you with credits to use that. But if you feel comfortable, you can actually do it and associate it with a new project. And I will also show that.
We'll give some more details about the June 22nd event when Roya's all done. It's a great event and everybody should be coming.
Thank you. So this is, again, do you see this page? So now I'm actually in the AI
Yep.
studio.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. So if you want to start, you will go to get API key, and most probably you will not have this box in the middle if this is your first time that you are using it. You will create an API key, and it asks for you for basically a Google Cloud project. And I have a bunch, but if you don't have any, you can actually generate a project in here. If it didn't let you to generate the project, you can go to the Google Cloud Platform. So you can go to console. And then you can create a project here. So you go to the console, cloudgoogle.com, and then new project. But be informed that it asks for your, I think it might ask for your credit card. So do it on your own risk. I don't think that it's gonna charge you, but I also don't know for a fact. Sorry.
It all depends on what they do. I mean, if you don't do if you're careful, you won't get any charges. But
Yes, exactly. I'm a not so much careful person, so I've been burnt. So when you get this project number, and then you get your API key, you can use it outside of this platform. But inside this platform, now you can do a variety of things. You can do a chat prompt, and that's similar to what you have when basically you are using Gemini. So in Gemini, it's a more beautiful user-friendly basically view of the same thing. As I mentioned, in the side, you have different type of models. So you have different type of Gemini. Flash is something that is announced recently, and it provides you with faster and cheaper, basically, access. And you also have access to Gemini Pro with 2 million context window and 1 million context window. So 2 million context window is about 2 hours worth of video or 60,000 lines of code. So this is huge. There is the number of token here. And if you use Gemini, for example, 1.5, you still have over 1 million token. And each token is a subset, piece of your word or a piece of your visual information. So if I type something in here, for example, write a poem about Hudson Valley. Sorry, how do you say right, Hudson Valley?
That's fine what you have. Yep. Just,
Okay.
yep.
Hudson Valley, I don't know, Google developer groups in 10 verses. It should basically run it for you. And if you pay attention, it's 8 token right now. And after generating it, it's become a little bit over or a little bit less than 360 token. And you will be charged based on the number of tokens that you are generating and requesting. And also pay attention that it only took 3.5 seconds. Because I just wanted to play with it, we can do something more fun and do the same thing with Gemini Pro. So this is 3.4 seconds. Let's see how long it takes. And if it's, I don't recall if it gives us the answer or not. Oh, actually it didn't do it. So give me a second. That one was 3.4. And this one is a little bit less than 8 seconds. So Flash is way faster, but the quality is a little bit lower. Let's just read the first one, first 4 verses. In Hudson Valley's verdant embrace, where takes bright minds find their place, a group of coder, keen and bold, with knowledge deep and stories told. So I think that was really good. And for the one with Gemini Pro, where Hudson's water gently flow and mountain rise in a verdant show, a group of minds, texture-driven bright, ignite the valley with their light. I think both of them are very, very impressive.
It definitely tells us just the way it is. Just saying.
Oh, lovely, lovely. If you pay attention to what you see in the right side, below the number of tokens, we have the temperature, and that's the creativity allowed in your response. So if you are interested in more absolute and not deterministic, but more careful way of answers, you want this to be closer to 1. But if you are more interested in some creativity in your system, you can go closer to 0. There is this expression add stop sequence. It's mainly used when you are providing question and answering. So you can teach your model, which will be again in my next session, on you can teach your model new things. And one of them would be that, okay, if you see this expression, for example, I don't know, I don't know, like frogs are red or something, anything that you can think of, the model would generate that, and when it was generated, it would stop no matter what is the probability or confidence of the next word. You have certain safety settings. You have the harassment, hate, sexuality, explicit, and dangerous content. And you can tune these knobs based on what type of content you are providing and what type of application you are building. So obviously, if you are building something for the miners, you are trying to have everything absolutely secure. And if you are not building something for the miners, you can be maybe have them more loose. I just be aware that even if you put everything absolutely to 0, under the hood of this platform, Google still has their own safety measures, so nothing is absolutely 0 in the developer end. You also have the advanced setting. You can have your output in a JSON format, and you can fix the probability or confidence of the next word. So if you are not comfortable with the temperature as giving it all the room for being creative, you can just slightly modify this value, which I don't know why it's not working right now, but you can change it from 0 to 1, which would be the probability of the next word. Um, let's go back here and then a little bit about basic prompting, which you all already know, so I don't want to go too far in that. It's just that you can basically have anything that you want ask. So for example, you can ask it to write a poem, you can ask it to write a snippet of code, or you can get all of these in the format of code. Let me also show you this one piece too. If I want to have any of these in the format of code, I just press this get code button on the side and I have the whole thing in here. Pay attention that it imports GenAI, Google Generative AI GenAI, and then it asks for my GenAI API key. This is the key that we generated on the top in here, and this is where you will be charged. So if you take this code and run it outside of this basically web page, you will be charged for sure. These are all of the safety settings that I showed you. Temperature top P. There is also this idea of top K, which is the top K values that is generated, and the summation of all of their confidence would be a certain number. So a little bit more than the topic, gives you a little bit more wiggle room. You have the maximum output token. Right now, I just generated about 800 tokens, but with this code, we are putting a block on anything above 8,000 or 8,000 and something, because that's one of the way of making a code crash, because if you don't have this, it just keeps generating and you will be charged, and you also will have a really, really a slow system. And then the type of your text would be, the type of your response would be text. You can also do it in the format of chat and as such. The model should match the model that we use here. So this is how you do it. And then you have the configuration here. You start the model, you give it a role, and you can modify it by changing this user on the top to something else. And then the rest is just what we gave to it as like question and answers. With that being said, I just wanted to thank you. It was a really great time I had with you all. You can scan the QR code on the side to join me on LinkedIn, and I would be happy to continue this discussion on LinkedIn if you had any further question. Thank you very much, and I will be available if you have question right now.
Any questions that go ahead? Sorry.
I had a question about printing the generations and the prompts on AI Studio. I don't seem to find a practical way to do it, because if it gives me anything, it'll give me a piece of it, or it'll give me a black background that I can't afford to print with toner. Is there a way to change it to white background with black text?
Actually, I think there was, but I never did something like that. I remember somebody talking about it, that you can change it. Is there a setting in the bottom?
Yes, there is settings.
Okay,
At the bottom, you can do it from light to dark.
Oh, the settings on the left. Oh, I tried the Chrome settings. I couldn't figure it out.
Yeah, well, it's Chrome. You're dealing with Google AI Studio.
Mm-hmm.
Chrome's just the way you're getting there. So, yeah.
Yep.
That's a good question. I didn't think about that. Good one.
Absolutely.
Anyone else have questions? This was really useful, Yulia. Thank you. I've not played with AI Studio very much. I've been using Gemini right through the chat, which works fine, and I just cut and paste. But just so you know, you can ask Gemini to create a slides for you, or a spreadsheet, or anything else. So you can have that output go right to a Google Doc.
Where is this, Gemini?
This is Gemini, yeah.
No, you can also go to the gemini.google.com, And then what John is saying is that you can ask it to produce anything and then immediately connect it to Google Sheet or Google Doc. So for example, build a table of 10 foods and their ingredient. Okay, I'm showing that my spelling is not good, right?
But you know what? The large language model will go, no problem, I know exactly what you mean.
Exactly. So I got lucky that I'm
But you
living in the.
can't do the image generation in AI Studio yet, can you?
Oh, you can. So okay, which one was my? This was my AI Studio. Uh, if you are generating it based on Pro, I think actually Flash does it too, but you can give it an image or something, or you can ask it to generate you an image. Generate an image
I didn't know
of
it could generate images.
Hudson Valley.
Oh, I never noticed that.
One thing I noticed, Roya, is that
Yeah, that's
Oh,
what I thought. It doesn't generate images.
I think I did. Okay. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. Really?
Roya, my version of this, I see Gemini 1.5 Flash and Pro, but I don't see Ultra, and I don't see.
These are preview, so because I'm a GDE, I have access to, but
I
it's
see.
not
Okay,
available.
great,
Yeah.
great.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I never tried actually doing image generation in here. I think it doesn't do it, which
Yeah,
is
I
interesting.
think the gentleman on here who's using Google to generate images, he's using the Imagen model. He's using Google Gemini to produce text prompts for the Imagen. His name, he's here. His name is the guy with the birds and the dresses. He gave his link here. Whenever he was here, maybe he left. He Adel.
Abdurazak.
Yeah, you use Imagen, but not the Gemini Pro model to generate images.
No, I use Gem, A1 1.5 Pro to generate text for uploading image, and I use Vertex AI to generate the image from my generated text. Did you get that?
Yeah, I
So
looked at your I looked at your code and it
yes,
and
yes,
it
I use the both Vertex AI and Gemini A 1.5 Pro.
right.
Because these are
I was
multimodalities, I
actually
think they. Sorry, go ahead.
I was able to generate an image in the chat.
In the chat or in the
But
AI
not AI
Studio here?
Studio. Not AI Studio.
No, maybe not. I didn't try AI Studio. Let's see. Let me try that.
I think in here it's different. You're right. In here it doesn't generate it, but it's weird because it does understand images.
Yeah, you can input images, but it won't produce them.
I don't think that it's because of the model, because to the point that Abdelrazak made,
Yes,
I
you can
think
generate image in Gemini.
yeah, you can generate them when you are inside the Vertex AI. There might be some issue because of the because basically whatever you are doing is for free, so maybe Google stops you, because you should be able to do that.
The model answered to me, I am unable to generate images. I am a text-based AI. And that's just in a prompt. So let me just try it again, changing the model. But in the chat, it will generate images. Yeah, I think this AI Studio is no images.
I will definitely look into it. Actually, I leave it on my notes to look into it further. And when I talk about fine tuning, I will get back to you on that.
It's
So,
suggesting that I use Dolly 2, Midjourney, or Crayon.
Good call. I didn't understand who was talking, but good call. Thank you.
Good. Other questions for Roya?
Yes, I have advanced. I was have a many problem when I make my project. I submit my project to Google Hackathon 2 weeks ago, and I don't win. But there is many great project win in the hackathon. But I can't. What can I say? Marriage Vertex AI API and Gemini Pro 1.5 in one framework. So I need to do the text generated in HTML and do the generate image in notebook, Jupyter notebook. Okay.
Sorry, let me make sure
S-
that I understood you right. So the problem is that you cannot
uh, uh,
use.
use the post in the same framework. There is no documentation in Google for that.
Let me look into it. I think there are, but
My GitHub in the chat. You can see the project and follow me if you want. We are both friends in LinkedIn.
yes, I will definitely look into it and
Ah.
message you, or if you can add me on your LinkedIn so we can continue
Yes,
this
we
discussion.
are both from long time.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry. I will look into it for you. I know there are codes. I think I wrote codes that calls two different models into the same platform. Are you using Vertex AI and
Also, all the project is AI generated. I give the Gemini the idea and ask him for HTML and SS, and I search for documentation in other way.
I will look into it and get back to you, but I
Okay.
think there is a way to go around it. Imagen and Gemini should be able to call from the same platform. There shouldn't be any reason to stop one and the other.
I think maybe he's using a Google Gemini API key to generate his text with Gemini,
Yes.
and he's not using a Vertex AI key to use Gemini, and that
No,
might be his.
I try the authentication is very hard and I get many error. So I have a video in YouTube demonstration my app. So that is the only way I get my account is open and my picture when I run the authentication, all the code in the GitHub, uh, they pop up my login and I say yes to Google SDK and the API to work, and they generate every time. I need to do that every time when I prompt the app.
Okay.
I certainly look into it and get back to you. I need
So
to read your code.
Okay.
I want to just say I don't mean to interrupt, but we're almost at the end of our time, and I just want to announce that Saturday, June 22nd, Saturday morning, 9 to 10:30, Roy is going to join us again, and we're going to go into explore Gemini in a lot more detail. Just reading from the posts that we have, we will move beyond the fundamentals of prompting and focus on how to optimize Gemini for specific tailored purposes. And by delving into the nuances of the platform, we can unlock its full potential and achieve even greater results. So it's going to be a really great workshop, and I recommend everybody come and join us for that. And we'll send out email and all that, so you'll see that. There is a link. I'm just going to put up from our website. Bear with me. Here we are. Here you can get more information and RSVP. We would really love you to join us. Roya, you were awesome. Thank you so much for everything you provided today. It was very interesting. I learned a lot, and and I already know a lot. I mean, I was already there and saw this, but to be able to hear it from your highly educated point of view and use was just extraordinarily valuable. And so I really applaud you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate all of your kind words. I'm absolutely learning from you all the time. So looking forward to be a part of your community soon. And I think we are also planning for an in-person session. So I already booked it on my calendar. So yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
might be there to see the beautiful, beautiful Hudson Valley.
Oh, yeah. We're going to be doing an in-person session in, I believe, September is when we're planning this. And so we don't have a lot of detail on that yet, but we'll keep you informed.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that.
It's great. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us.
Please pay attention. This is the joint efforts of 3 chapters right now, and we will continue collaborating.
Yeah,
GDG
absolutely.
Hudson, GDG Miami, GDG Boston, GDG Capital Region, and
Yeah.
GDG Hudson once again. GDG
Thank
Hudson,
you. Thank you.
please join us.
I have a question about the link you just put up. It doesn't, the meetup group usually gives me a link to add to my Google Calendar. When I join this event on the GDG Community Dev, does it automatically go to Google Calendar?
Not automatically. You'll get a
Email?
a response saying, "Okay, you're in," and from there, um, from the mail,
Email.
you'll be able to generate from the email. You'll be able to generate a link.
I'll have to do that now then.
Yeah. Yep. That's interesting. I'm just looking at this. So we are the 22nd event is we're co-hosting that with Miami and with Capital Region. And so the link I showed you is from is sort of generic for all of us. It does say Capital Region on it, but that's just fine. We love them. They're one of us. So
Google
thank you
Developers
everybody.
Group. Yes, Google Developers Group.
Yep, we're all Google developer groups. Yeah.
And we
All
help
right,
each
good.
other unite
Anything you want?
efforts.
Anything else you want to say, Yulia?
No, we appreciate all comers, all attendees, but the most of all, we're appreciating the efforts of the organizers, whoever did the job. Once again, me, John, and Roya, and thanks again, Boston and Miami, to co-hosting it.
Yeah, it's great to see you all. Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
We'll see you all on the 22nd, I hope. Bye.
Lovely. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.